Now, the Democratic Alliance has urged Public Protector Busisiwe Mkhwebane to finalise the probe and report on the controversial Estina Dairy Farm in Vrede in the Free State. This after the Supreme Court of Appeal threw out Mkhwebane's application to appeal the High Court judgment against her. That earlier judgment relating to the 350 million rand Gupta-linked Dairy Project investigation report. Senior legal journalist Karyn Maughan is following the story. She's also following the Zondo Commission into state capture that has resumed its work 3 months after the lockdown was implemented. So, Karyn, thank you for being with us. Let's start with the Zondo Commission. Prasa, the passenger rail agency, is in the spotlight. Explain the state capture claims that Prasa is involved in.
Well, basically, the Prasa story is fascinating because essentially what we hear from Popo Molefe, who was chairperson of the Prasa board for a number of years, is that an investigation by Vaxmans, which came after Public Protector Thuli Madonsela's 2015 derailed report, came after multiple different reports and investigations by the Auditor General into Prasa, which started out exposing about 550 million rands worth of irregular expenditure, which then swelled to about 14 billion rand, and also subsequent investigations by the Treasury, which found that out of 216 contracts over 10 million rand awarded by Prasa, only 13 had been legal, has really put huge insight into possibly one of the most expensive levels of corruption and financial malfeasance to occur in any of the state-owned enterprises. Now, the reason that this is important on some levels, Francis, is that the same firm that exposed a number of that financial malfeasance, Vaxmans, is at the heart of the VBS investigation that has currently gone to court. But in comparison to VBS, nothing has happened over the alleged massive levels of corruption in Prasa, despite the fact that the Constitutional Court last year upholding a ruling that in the instance of one of those contracts, the Siangena, the other contracts, which are for the so-called two tall trains, that in fact that deal was accomplished through corrupt means. So really a fascinating insight from someone who was really profoundly involved in this, profoundly involved in these investigations, about the frustrations that he experienced in terms of bringing these issues or trying to bring them to the attention of Parliament, trying to bring them to the attention of the Hawks, and also trying to bring them to the attention of the ANC's top 6 in 2015, with absolutely no results up until today. Up until this point, Francis, no one ever being held accountable for this whole-scale multi-billion rand alleged financial malfeasance, which resulted in Prasa paying huge amounts of money for trains that were actually too tall for local railway lines.
Yeah, we all remember those trains that just didn't fit. So quickly looking forward, I mean, will this dominate for the week probably?
Yes, I mean, the story of Prasa is an important one because, as we've seen, in the last few hours, the Deputy Chief Justice, Raymond Zondo, raising serious concerns, and he's articulated this in the past, over Parliament's failure to do anything on these issues. And also, I think the issue of the Hawks and their failure to act on this will also be ventilated throughout the coming days. We know that Prasa under Molefe in 2017 brought a court case to compel the Hawks to investigate the mountains of evidence which were uncovered by Vaxmans, estimated 1.4 billion documents, and of course nothing happening as a consequence of that. So really a whole-scale alleged rampant looting of that institution, and to date no one being held accountable, and again question marks over law enforcement, over Parliament, and over indeed the ANC itself in addressing corruption that really took transport, affordable, safe public transport out of the hands of ordinary people.
All right, Karyn, thank you for that. Let's move to the Estina Dairy Farm and the Public Protector's findings and another judgment against her. I mean, they are piling up against her.
Well, I mean, it gets worse for the public protector, Francis, because, the understanding was that she would be bringing this leave to appeal application that would then be argued in court. The SCA clearly looking at the court documents that had been filed on behalf of the various parties in this case and issuing a one-page order essentially saying that this appeal has absolutely no reasonable prospects of success, dismissing it out of hand, and issuing a cost order against, dismissing it with costs, which effectively means that the 7.5% personal cost order that was granted against her by Judge Renaud Tolme will stand. Of course, the Public Protector also currently in the process of trying to interdict Parliament from embarking on an inquiry into her fitness to hold office until she attacks or is given the opportunity to attack the rules that govern that inquiry process in court. And pivotal to part of the case that she faces, which of course was lodged by the DA's Natasha Mazode, is the Estina judgment, in which Judge Renaud Tolme essentially says that Busisiwe Mkhwebane, in failing to adequately investigate the Estina Dairy Farm scam, failed the people of South Africa, but most importantly, failed the very poor and vulnerable black farmers in that particular who were affected by that scam, who she failed to actually even speak to. So it is a profoundly devastating judgment. And, the fact that this appeal has been turned down means that she cannot argue if and when this inquiry gets underway that, it's a subject of appeal and that she, it can't be used against her in this inquiry.
Is it fair enough to say, and very quickly, Karyn, that in a nutshell, she didn't find much wrong with the Estina Dairy Farm, despite much evidence of a scam, as you say, money coming from government not helping the community, but claims even of money laundering by the Guptas in that case. And then she's been asked to reopen the investigation. Is her office talking at all?
I have spoken to her office. They have told me that she has issued what are referred to as Section 7(9) notifications to people who have been implicated in the second phase of that investigation, which means they are then given time to respond to the findings made against him. That would suggest that this report is at a fairly advanced stage. Of course, we know, Francis, that she was ordered to do that investigation by Parliament, which specifically asked her to look at the involvement allegedly by politicians like Mosebenzi Zwane and Ace Magashule, and also asked her to actually investigate the impact of this entire matter on the black farmers themselves who were meant to benefit from this scheme, but essentially did not. As you said before, allegedly 30 million rand of the money intended for these poor black farmers is alleged to have been used on a lavish Gupta wedding in Sun City.
All right, thank you very much, senior legal journalist Karyn Maughan.